our heroes' dilemmas to be alien in their own lands or to be epic.
Wants to hear some Shakespeare. See if I remember, but if I don't, most of it's there. When my love swears she is made of truth, I do believe her, although I know she lies, that she might think me some untutored youth, unlearned in the world's false subtleties. I forget. Something like that. I could read it, but...
Actually, your father figures in this goddamn story, and I need to stop telling it, because it makes us all look crazy. So, you guys know who the Night Stalker is?
Yeah,
Richard Ramirez. So back in the mid-'80s, I was a young lad, and I would come up to LA all the time. Right? My cousins in LA were, lived in, I'm blanking on. Next to, anyway, Yamani, right? And so I'm from a small town, Minnesota, right? And I'll come down, and I'll be playing with my grandmother, this is on my family. And I see the Night Stalker, blah, 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 right? And I'd be like, my grandmother would make jokes like, hey, I'm lonely, I only leave the window open and shit, right? And I'm like, Grandma, goddamn, like, and I was scared because my aunt, my cousin did this thing, I'm afraid of the boogeyman. I'm like, what about that? I'm like, Night Stalker, right? Like, koalas all the time running in and out, right? And so I was scared because, like, it progressed. It goes, Night Stalker doing this. Because he started killing, like, everybody, right? Coming through the window. I was like, like 11 years old. I was scared. My family saying stop being such a pussy. And so I'm like, Night Stalker, come in. All the shit he does, right? Anyway, this story gets a little bit weird because, let me pause here a moment. So I wrote a creative nonfiction essay called Mexican American Psycho. It's the Xicano version of American Psycho. And I didn't want my family reading it. said, well, what about the Night Stalker? And he goes, oh, it's really sad. I'm like, what do you mean it's sad? They got him. Right? Well, because I couldn't get there in time to help out. Because I beat his ass. Yeah, so. What's that?
In your book?
No, it's not in my
Put it
book.
in your book.
I forgot that I saw the dude. So this isn't in the, what's that? And so the other weird thing is since I wrote this story, people who had associations with Night Stalker started emailing me, like strange. One guy said, hey, I was in the next cell when he came in, he was crying like a little wimp and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, thank you, sir, for this piece of Xicano history. I don't know what to say. Like, yeah, I was next door. What do you say to that, right? So I got a few of those, about like, and I don't want any association with Night Stalker. But and the other thing is, I started asking a bunch of writers that about my age, a bit older, right? Were you in LA during this? And so I asked Ernesto Hogan, who is one of the fathers of Xicanx Sci-Fi. He said he was going to, he's a nerdy dude. He said in the 80s he was going to a Star Trek convention, and the cops, at 4 a.m., the cops came by, put the light on him, and stayed there 10 minutes. He said, I don't know what to do. There's like, they stayed there. And so he's standing there for 5 minutes, and he's like, that for a bit, and then they drove off. And he goes, I don't know if they thought it was a Night Stalker or what, because they didn't say anything, just for 10 minutes. He's like, that's a long time. He just sat there and was staring, right? I asked other ones, I can't remember who, but they hid in the bathtub. So yeah, it was a big deal. A lot of people were scared. I don't know, I was scared.
It has kind of an everyday face. It could have been.
Yeah.
According
to my cousin, he had rotten teeth. He was scary looking. He was really big. But yeah, he didn't look too different from a lot of folks around. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
But we're going to embellish it a little bit. Tell them how you took him down.
Yeah. Well.
At 11 years old.
So he did get up, and I had to sidekick him again.
Oh, there you go.
But
Where? Show us the kick.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Ninja.
Show us the kick.
Karate. There you go.
You might be live on YouTube, Scott.
Really?
I'm not sure. Jenny was get closer to the mic, Scott.
Really?
Are we live?
That's right. We are going to be
We're not live.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Well, just wanted to know, do you guys know anybody that's late?
Yeah, Osmani Ochoa is late. We'll probably get started here in a second, right?
Yeah, we could give it 7:50.
Okay, yeah, all right, that sounds good.
But we did have ticket sales, so just wondering where folks are.
Yeah.
Scott, do you mind if I practice on one poem?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, come on up. Yeah, then we'll get started soon after that.
It kind of matches with the video there.
Oh, yeah.
Is this about the right height?
I would lower
You
it.
can lower it, yeah, you can lower it.
An inch or two.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, can you lower it for me? Or is it coming up? Is it okay?
I think it's okay, but it's
Oh, perfect. My name is Vicente. Thank you for letting me practice before the program here on my latest poem called Chaltocan. In the beginning, there was Omnetecuatl and Omequitl, Lord and Lady, first pair, to rise in the land of the eagle, surrounded by water. I am told Tonatiuh, the sun, fiercely brandished his flaming spears upon the rooftop of the universe. At day's end, Tonatiuh would lie out of sight in Mictlan, the dark place where death might dwell. Tonatiuh directed Metzli, the moon, to eat his monthly meal of stars, until he was gorged to his roundest and brightest. I am told Chocacuaro, the weeping woman, was the first mother to die giving birth, forever wandering, bewailing her lost child, prompting Omechiru, the evening star, to assure us we need not fear the dark place. Choltocan, the only world we know, the one world will live a while longer. Thank you.
That's great. Shift this around a little bit. We got a few minutes. I want to also mention when I told that story, I told it a couple times, like around. Told it in Scotland, and I told it in San Francisco and like the North Bay. And each time people come up to me and say, "Why did every member of your family have a gun?" I said, "Oh, they were in LA." They couldn't figure out, like, but even your grandpa, like, yeah, he had a shotgun, well, you know, and then like, yeah. But yeah, it's funny. I had to, obviously in Europe too, they don't have guns, so I had to tell them, you know. We got another, we got some folks who may or may not be here, so we give another maybe 2 minutes and we get started. But yeah, I want to thank everyone for being here.
Some of the speakers may not come. Are they all?
We got a couple maybes last minute, so we'll see. One person's late.
I just might need to go long.
Well, let's stick to the time, and just in case they show up.
How long?
8 minutes. I'd like to have a discussion at the end, and if they show up at the end, maybe we'll let them in the discussion a little bit and let them go. But we'll see what happens. We don't want to get the hook from here, but maybe give it a start. It's almost 7:50. So where are you guys coming from today?
Long Beach.
Over the hill? Are you 50 yet? Are you 50 yet? 50? Yeah, over the hill. I'm 50, yeah, I'm over the hill as well. Okay. Well, we might as well get started, I guess. I think maybe unless that's us money. Okay.
Somebody out there or
I don't know.
there's somebody talking.
Yeah, someone talking.
Maybe they want to.
Okay. If anybody would like to come in, now is the time.
Oh dang, that's a little too close for me. Sorry. So I want to thank everyone for being here. Obviously, my name is Scott Russell Duncan, for those who know me, and I want to thank Beyond Baroque for having us. And also we're here for obviously Xicanx Futurism, Codex One, and we also have the publisher Brenda Vaca in the audience, which I'm excited, and she's also going to be reading. Yay! I also want to point out, I think this is the first time I've ever presented or hosted a literary event in LA, or in the LA area. And also say it's interesting because I mentioned my family before. We're California and Lucenio Soboba, so that's 2 colonizations we've been through, and we're still here. And we got my little cousin here. Y'all ain't got rid of us yet. We are a little bit cultural though. So let me get my phone out here. So this is Xicanx Futurism Codex 1. It kind of started when I was with at another press, and we were going to put it out through there. So like obviously thank all the contributors who had a lot of patience for this. And this really started as an idea to bring a lot of social justice voices, speculative voices, and sci-fi voices together, and artistic voices together. As you see in the background, there was Luis Valderas, part of Project Masa, who has been doing, and to make the point, like I wanted to bring it together because people have been out here doing Xicanx Futurism for years, even decades, like Luis Valderas as part of Project Masa. And also there's been Xicano Futurism, which is an art form. But Xicanx Futurism is something that we see that looks to the future and looks to the formation and looks to our organization and looks to us, coming together and seeking the power to connect and evolve, right? Because that's what we need as Rasta. We need to evolve, and I see a lot of ideas in this book from the contributors to evolve and to connect and to absolutely change things, and which is very much needed. But in the interest of time, I'll go ahead and start some folks up here, and we're looking to have a discussion afterwards. So let me see here. Wait, they're not here.
Let's start off with Henry Madrid. Henry's a multifaceted artist. He won the Best Play at the 2024 Short and Sweet Theater Festival. He crafts stories exploring Latino representation, Chicano futurism, personal transformation, and spirituality. His portfolio includes full-length plays, poetry, short stories, and vibrant visual art that blends psychedelic imagery with surrealism. So let's welcome Henry.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me. I'm going to read my notes here. Good evening, everyone. My name is El Henry Madrid, sort of a nom de plume that I use. Storyteller, Chicano, and proud contributor to Chicano Futurism, Gritos for Tomorrow, edited by the chingones Scott Russell Duncan and Jenny Irizarry. This is not your abuelita science fiction. This is our future, written by us, for us, and tonight I want to take you there. My story is called A Tale of Two Chicano Bots. I'll read some parts of it, of course. Some teasers here. The setting. The year is 2070. Nestled in the heart of East Los Angeles, the apartment resides in the vibrant neighborhood of Barrio Castro, an enclave carrying the legacy of its namesake, Julian Castro, remembered for his impactful presidency. Due to the cataclysmic climate change, most trees surrendered to the unforgiving heat. Yet the resilient cacti of Mexico and Central America stood defiant. Los Angelinos ricos abandoned Earth and escaped to lunar and orbiting colonies. Meanwhile, those who remain are from south of the border, are Chicano gente. They live humbly in resilience and in a sense of community. In the heart of the Barrio Castro, we meet Jesus, a nonagenarian lleno de orgullo Chicano, a childless widower who found companionship not in flesh and blood, but in silicone and circuits. He wears a prosthetic arm, a reminder of a police beating he endured during a political demonstration. His unwavering resistance lives on through his bots. Jesus declared to his masculine bot, "Mi robot valiente, you will be known as Roberto." Turning to his fembot, with her synthetic braids and a mole adorning her cheek, he announced, "And you will be called Lindy, a tribute to mi señora." It means hummingbird in Tlahuica. You are my Chicanito android children, Chicanoids. So I'll read another part in here. This is the cliffhanger here. Lindy's voice echoed, "Rob, no matter how we pretend, our pinchy energy cells will drain in less than 48 hours and we'll die. So let's leave our casita and explore." Lindy yanks her arm free, grabs a small olla de frijoles, marches to the door, and swings it open. Bright sunlight floods in and dazzles her eyes. She stumbles into the street. A loud whoosh fills the air as she dodges a low-flying aero car with a Raiders logo. Two young vatos yell out, "Guáchale, mi chulita! Go Raiders! Ahua!" Then the light in Lindy's eyes begin to flicker and fade. She collapses to the ground, her voice a mere whisper. Rob, no, not yet. I was beginning to understand. Understand what?" Rob asked, his circuits pulsating with urgency. Her barely audible voice responded, "Understand the Chicano purpose and how to feel as humans do." I want to just talk about how we're all connected here. In my story, there is a wise woman named Juana, an indigenous curandera sitting under a Palo Santo tree. When Lindy tells her she has no soul, that she's just a bot made of circuits and metal, Juana says something that stops her cold. Unless you're an alien, you're created from the same La Big Bang cosmic explosion elements as me. And all things from her have the same life force energy. Now, I want you to sit with that for a second and think about it. She's not speaking poetry, she's speaking science. Every atom in your body the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen in your lungs were forged billions of years ago in the furnace of a dying star. Our sun didn't make us. Ancient stars that exploded before our sun was even born made us. We are quite literally made of star stuff. And here's where it gets really interesting. Scientists have calculated the atoms in your body have been cycling through the universe for 14 billion years. As you know, they can't be destroyed, only transferred. They've been in gas clouds, they've been in oceans, they've been in dinosaurs, they've been in your great-great-grandma. The atoms don't care about borders, about race, about nations. They get recycled through everything and everyone. A physicist once calculated that every breath you take contains at least one molecule exhaled by Julius Caesar. Think about that. When you breathe right now, you're breathing ancient history. So when Juana tells Lindy, "You're made of the same elements as me," she's saying, "You are my ancestor. I am yours, not by family tree, by atoms, by the stars themselves." So, why does this matter? Why a story about Xicano robots? Because the question, what does it mean to be human, has always been our question. Every generation of our gente has been told they don't belong, that their language is wrong, their culture is backward, their presence is unwelcome. Jesus builds Roberto and Lindy because he knows his stories, his heritage, his love cannot be stored in a database. AI algorithms can't tap into the oral heritage. These verdades can only be passed down from heart to heart. And here's where the future of Chicanos looks like in 2070. In my story, the rich fled to the moon. We stayed. We tended the earth. We kept the nopales alive. We named the baby Panchito Villa and called him the future president of Nuevo Aztlán. Chicano futurism asks the question nobody else in science fiction is asking. What if we inherit the earth? Not as a fantasy, but as a logical conclusion, because we've already survived everything they've thrown at us. Climate change, we're still here. Colonization, still here. Erasure, still here. Ice, we're still here. Wait a minute, one more line. I'm almost there. Roberto and Lindy, Roberto and Lindy are you. They're your abuelito. They're your tia who keeps the old stories alive. They're every Chicano who ever looked in the future and said, they don't see us in it, so we'll write ourselves in it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Henry. Both me and the other editor, Jenny Elizalde, we both love that story, by the way. Like we haven't told you enough, but we both like. As editors, you go by it line by line, and that story has so much heart in it. And it's about two robots, right? It's also, we should mention that Codex 2. Well, we had so many like pieces, art, nonfiction, poetry. To go in Xicanx Futurism, we had to split it in two books, Codex 1 and Codex 2. And so Codex 2 is going to be out this June, just to let everyone know here. But next up in the reading, we have Peter Lechuga. Peter Lechuga is a Xicano wordsmith, guerrilla organizer, and romantic who speaks stories of love, grief, and resistance. He's the founder and editor of the quarterly literary magazine Poetry and Art Anthology, and is the author of the books Myth, Opportunities, and Billionaires for Breakfast. So let's welcome Peter. Yeah.
What up, everybody? How are we doing? Cool? Yeah, good. I want to thank you, Scott. I want to thank you, Jenny, for including my work in Codex 2. So excited to be a part of it, and it means a lot to me. And I also want to thank Brenda for publishing these amazing, beautiful books. These are large. They're beautiful. So amazing. So it's incredible. I'm going to start with a poem that will be in Codex 2. I write a series of love poems dedicated to my fiance, and here, this is love poem number 3. Remember when we drank tear gas in the wavy summer, ran behind dented cars, shaded ourselves from non-lethal belly laughs, rubber bullet launchers hurled their hail, rancid rain squirming from the rotted insides of gutless soldiers? Remember when we cascaded water onto burning eyes, washed the red but left the fire. Through bottles as grenades they flew like spaceships. Above the chaos, above the bullshit, above us. Remember when we were astronauts, lost but unafraid, traveling to a new home because maybe Aslan is a planet, a perfect pearl in the vastness beyond, a dream dripping in our reality, one where we belong. Remember when we designed our cosmic vessel, carefully constructed of chrome and adobe, hydraulics on the thrusters, white walls for the landing, fuzzy dice on the rear view to pull our eyes to the past, salt pillars melting in our tears. Remember when we landed, kicked up tahine, made dust storms to coat our rims, greeted by hummingbirds buzzing like utility poles. They sipped chamoy from deep in the petals of foreign flowers. Their ruby-coated throats would sing in the fields of marigolds molded from gold and silver. Remember when we worked those fields, felt the warmth of welcoming red earth, hot with ambrosia and amaranth on our tongues, renewed by each sun, radicalized by each moon, revolutionary the phases we fought through, always ephemeral. Remember when we left that night, our eyes clear, our lungs still heavy, black smoke suffocating the sky, above the chaos, above the bullshit, above us. Remember, you and I, below, holding hands, walking between stars. Thank you. Yeah, I got a couple more for y'all. This one will also be in Codex 2. This one's called Tin Angels, Brown Gods. In the future, ice doesn't splinter doors with storm cloud shoulders, doesn't cowardly cover their fragile egos, doesn't search in soil to uproot family trees. No. They descend from white skies, unholy bodies, pale glow, chrome wings, faceless halos, cyborg seraphims serving Christian nationalists programmed to enact compliance like prayer. They call it progress. They call it following orders. They call it necessary. Machines don't feel. Machines don't hesitate. Machines don't look away from brown families crying in cages, but they forget. Our ancestors crushed tin cans in paper, felt the metal bend from their callous hands, built civilizations from dust, kneeled before suns, have survived worse than this, and we are still here, eternal. We bloom like dahlias, ascending from brown earth, shedding colonialism, bearing souls, fighting back, gaining knowledge, Xicanx, learning from the land, humming Hail Marys and revolution like prayer. Thank you. Okay, I'll do one more for y'all. This one it's called The Infinite Distance Between Third and Home. It's about baseball. So we'll do this one. The infinite distance between third and home. Walk on, base hit. Who remembers? Memories raked clean, ridges remain, deep breathing in dirt. The tears dashing down my dimples were Little League blues. My cries were Davis's trumpet howling, and home plate was miles away, glaring night and soul into my Saturday veins. Bubblegum ego popped from aftershock lips, dribbling pink pretend tobacco globs into manicured silt like the greats, gnawing chaw with coffee-colored gums and yellow teeth. But the greats never sobbed into the red earth of an isolating rundown. No, the greats never threw T-ball tantrums and helmets into chain-link walls. Third base island was the furthest my clicking cleats ever sailed, an ocean of pickled quicksand between. Heavy hesitation slept on the safety of the bag, stabbing shallow into sand. Lead too far, picked off. Stay too close, never score. Reckless theft brewed, and the desperate craving to be the post-game pizza party hero pushed me into limbo. So I went for it, ran through chalk, a border drawn in dust. I thought if I kicked enough white into the air, no one could tell on which side of the line I was born. That didn't stop the infield from being mobilized. Outfielders stormed in with cold eyes, gloves open like yapping mouths, snapping talking points. I was caught in silk. They already trapped me. They already named me, blurted it out like curveballs sliding from crooked tongues. Criminal, beaner, wetback. Now when people shout play ball, it echoes like show me your papers. When they sigh, those are the rules. The hitbox widens around brown shoulders until we walk off back to wherever the fuck it is we came from. I'll never forget that indelible pickle, the infinite distance between third and home, the time I thought I was a shooting star, snuffed too quick by icy fingertips, reminding me of that stinging red sand painting my knees. The cage created to shrink around me, my heartbeat louder than Davis's horn, heard by horizon of sunsetting bleachers, the gentle tap of leather cutting like handcuffs, strangling my wrists. I hoped if I sprinted, never looked back, I could outrun the tag, outrun the way the world glares, but I was already out the moment I stepped inside the white lines of the batter's box. Walk on, base hit, no. I died in the raked ridges, remembered the way Little League Blues taught me how far home can feel when everyone believes you don't belong on the field. Leaving the red dust on my palms proves I touch dying stars, and every base they failed to keep out of reach. Soon I will orbit round third, loosen the rundown, close infinite distance, and slide into home like I've always belonged. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Peter. That was amazing. Yeah, I'm really happy that your work. Peter was a later addition, and I'm really happy his work's in there. Yeah, I was at first I was like, he sent me the email. I'm like, oh, yeah, all right, I'll check it out. I'm like, oh, will you please be it? So yeah, that was great. Next up, I should tell a story a tiny bit, really quick. So after this project left another publisher, I called up a publisher I knew called Riot of Roses. Her name's Brenda Vaca. And I said, hey, I'm looking for a publisher. It's called Xicano, for this book. It's called Xicanx Futurism. And she said, okay, almost immediately. She's that down. So I really appreciate you, Brenda, but I want everyone to remember she's not only like amazing publisher, she's a great poet. And so she's also in Codex 2 with a really some great work. So I'll read her bio out here. Brenda Vaca is a Chicano poet, author, and independent publisher from Setjatna, unceded Tongva territory known as South Whittier, California. She earned her BA English at UC Berkeley with a minor in creative writing and later earned a Master's of Divinity and Master of Arts in Biblical Languages at the Pacific School of Religion and Graduate Theological Union. Riot of Roses is her debut collection of poetry published by her indie house. She founded Riot of Roses Publishing House to amplify historically silenced voices in narratives. Writing and publishing are her joyful rebellion. So let's welcome Brenda.
Hey everybody, thanks for being here. Hello YouTube land. I love this thick vato so much. It's just so cool. I love big books and I cannot lie. I always say that. And it's true. I grew up in a household of readers, and my brother, Albert, loves the sci-fi and futurism genres in literature. And I spent most of my time, I think, in poetry and in realism. So for me, it was like so cool to be invited to contribute a piece. So I'll read that last, but I will read a piece that will not be in Xicanx Futurism, just to take up my 8 minutes. Yeah. So thank you. But I promise to read the one that will be in Codex 2. This one is called Contempt of Court, and it is kind of like a maldición. I'm publishing a book later in the spring called Odes and Oraciones y unas pocas maldiciones. Yes. So much rage. So this is a little bit about that rage. For those of you that may not know, Operation Streamline was in various places in the United States. I visited one in the early 2000s in 2006 in Tucson, Arizona, and promptly got escorted out. So this is maybe a little bit of the hellscape, right, before the futurism calls us out, calls us forward. 70 humans shackled at the waist, chains around the wrists, ankles, then shackled to each other. Picked up the night before in the desert, shackled too close a word to chattel. What are we, cattle? They're sentient beings too. What evil contraption is lodged in your brain, made hereditary every time you fuck? You multiply this hate-filled compulsion to exploit and enslave. But we are not knaves or plebes. We excavate history, lost languages, and our traditional ways. The dances stayed alive. The songs we carried in the lungs. These songs are our gritos unleashed and beautified. 90% of our ancestors annihilated by your desecration because you and your ancestors devised diseases to wipe out nations. But not totally, not completely. The history books say we were a people. Simple past tense. What are they? Dense? They didn't know we'd remember. Oh yes, we remember. We are well beyond woke. There is no crust in these eyes. There is no dust in this throat. We see with clarity and speak truth with precision through your lies. Your snide jokes and foolish gestures are misaligned and cruel. We thrive as your supremacist notions disintegrate before your very eyes. We are awake. Awake, I say, and risen too, resuscitated and reconnected to breathe new life into our people. We are strong, we are mighty and indestructible. Our seeds sprout perpetual. Everywhere we dare to stand and live, to eat and breathe and dance and make love and loose wing-filled laughter, while our young people take flight, destined to dance and run in your graveyards. Yes, officer. Yes, sir. Yes, U.S. Marshal, sir. I am in contempt of your court.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm realizing I never read that one out loud before. Thank you. This one is the poem that will be included in Xicanx Futurism Codex 2. Thank you, Scott and Jenny, for inviting me to participate. I was so shy to submit, but here we go. It is called Empire No Longer Has Control. I stand on the pinnacle of these pyramids. Mis bisabuelas me ven desde la distancia de milenios. Brincan y bailan en medio de muchas flores. Los árboles sonrían en las alturas. We sacrificed so much over the years. Body and blood, sweat, labor, and tears. Thousands of years have passed, and the cross never meant to inspire hope. Empire's tool erected to incite fear. But now it's our tombs that lie empty. Stones rolled away so our children can run, can play. A Xicano blows through us. These winds of change release all claim over our minds, our bodies, our spirits. Release the stranglehold on our throats. Release the grip of depression, stroke. Release the possession over our souls. Empire no longer has control. Our lives, our spirits have been reclaimed. Somos hijos del sol, hijas de tierra, hijas del cielo. Amen. Alleluia. Aho. Thank you so much, everyone.
Oh yeah, I'm hosting. That was wonderful. Well, I tell you, you should definitely one of the Chicanos leading the raid. That's amazing. For this next reader, let me open my phone here. I should tell a little bit of stories. Last year, I was riding through the desert of Arizona, and not to bring up bad memories for him, but I was on the way to a family reunion in New Mexico. That's my other side. So yeah, we come from sides. We both got run over by the U.S. Right? But I got a message that my friend had been kidnapped by ICE. And we all worked very hard to contact just to find him, but luckily he was released a few days later. Obviously he probably doesn't want to say anything about that right now, but you're more than welcome to read what you got. So next up is Ernesto Ayala. He's a lifelong member of Partido Nacional de la Raza Unida, a proud Chicano. To a father, a 17-year-old Chicanita, and a 17-year-old Mon Chicanito. This is a little bit old bio. Yeah, he's an organizer and a future educator. In late 2019, he co-founded Telejaguar. In 2020, joined Mexicanos 2070. He and his family proudly reside in Pacoima, Cariatzlan. Let's welcome Ernesto Ayala.
Buenas noches, compañeras, compañeros. Yes, again, my name is Ernesto Ayala. I want to thank everyone that put this together. Usually when I speak behind a podium, it's like a different setting, like a marcha or something like that. So I'll try to do my best, right? I wrote a piece for this, because and I'm honored that I was included. Scott said they were putting together, Xicanx Futurism. So I was like, well, I have my ideas about our future. So I wanted to go into our past so that we could, think about our future. So I'll just read the first part. Hopefully, it doesn't go over. So here we go. It's called Las Raíces de Aztlán by Ernesto Ayala. In my everyday life, I have worked various jobs, including landscaping, factory assembly line, hauling, setting and cutting Christmas trees, and I got a Class B license so I could drive a small passenger bus for a senior center. Driving the bus gave me certain moments in time to think and see the city. I would pick up elderly people in the San Fernando Valley to take to the senior center in Panorama City. Panorama City is an area of the San Fernando Valley, California, that I compared to a smaller version of the neighborhood surrounding MacArthur Park, Pico Union, in Los Angeles proper. It is an area with a larger population of recently arrived raza. There are also many Central Americans in this area. On any given day, you can drive around that part of the valle and you will see many street vendors selling pupusas and other Central American foods. This neighborhood is in contrast to the older Chicano Mexicano neighborhoods of Pacoima, where I live, San Fernando, where my family is from, and parts of Silmar, where there are multi-generational families and Mexicano families that have been here for quite some time already. And then at that point in time, a store had opened near the senior center called La Tapachulteca that caters to the growing Central American population in the area, specifically people from El Salvador. Up the street from there, on my route, there were two separate murals. One, a tattoo shop adorned with Chicano style calligraphy and artwork all around. On the side, a huge Aztlán written in Cali graffiti style, and a Mesoamerican skull with a headdress by its side, and it had a spliff también. Up the street, and unfortunately gone by now, a much older mural depicting the founding of Tenochtitlan, when the people founded the eagle on the nopal devouring a snake in the middle of Lake Texcoco. Instead of Tenochtitlan, it said Aslan in large plain letters in the foreground of the scene. 3 separate locations in the same area with a word in Nahuatl telling a story as old as time in this part of the world. 2 of those use the place name of Aslan, one to show a sense of Chicano cultural pride in our Mesoamerican roots, and the other depicting the ancient myth which continues being retold to this day of the migration from Aslan to Tenochtitlan. What do I mean by this story as old as time, or the quote-unquote American narrative we are told every single day of our lives? Well, it goes like this. The USA is usually depicted as a country, much like all others, that came about through a war of independence and then through a civil war that helped end the brutal practice of chattel slavery practiced against African people. The original inhabitants are painted as folkloric relics of a distant past, which unfortunately somehow disappeared with the advancement of civilization. Anything outside of that is considered foreign, and anyone not a part of that picture is labeled an immigrant. The liberal slogan usually goes, "We are a nation of immigrants." Yet there is another story, one that has been in the process of unearthing by the Chicano and native peoples, in particular those of now southwestern states of the United States, quote-unquote the United States. What is this story? It is one emerging from every corner of what today many have chosen to call Aslan. The story I like to call a little story that could derail an empire is told frequently, although not as much anymore, by Chicanos and Raza here in the United States. The story basically retells the origin story of Mexico and Tenochtitlan. It has served many Mexicanos and Chicanos to feel a sense of pride in still being at home here despite the many injustices and atrocities meted out to our people. But we are not here necessarily to only retell this ancient myth. What we should try to do is understand why, after thousands of years, this myth, which is one amongst so many that our ancestors held, why does this myth continue to be recounted, whether with a sense of pride and nationalist fervor or out of fear and repudiation? Well, first of all, is there any basis for this myth? It is a known fact that 5,000 years ago, Mesolithic peoples in Aridoamerica spoke a language that has been named Proto-Utonahuatl. This ancient language is what birthed dozens of indigenous languages spoken today, or that at one point were spoken from an area as far as Idaho and Utah in the present-day USA to Guatemala, Nicaragua, and El Salvador, and obviously throughout Mexico. The specific areas where this language originated long ago has been debated, but it is undeniably believed to have been in today's quote-unquote Southwest. A recent study by David Shaw, published as a prehistory of Western North America, concludes through the study of linguistics that the homeland of Proto-Utonahuatl was none other than the southern San Joaquin Valley of California, an area heavily Chicano-Mexicano today. It is then known that speakers of Proto-Utonahuatl spread out and thus came the family of languages known as Utonahuatl. The name was given to describe the farthest geographically, again, from Utah and Idaho to the Nahuatl speakers into Central America. Some notable Utonahuatl languages are Tongvaquish of today's Los Angeles, Tatavion of my dearest Valle de San Fernando, which is also part of Los Angeles. Other well-known Utonahuatl languages are Comanche, Hopi Pueblo, Huixarica, Huichol, Onon, Tarahumara, and Shoshone. The language spread by migrating peoples who went north and from the most part south, and then eventually these similarities in languages helped the migration of maize up north. And then certainly several maize-based cultures of Nuestra America shared creation stories. One example is that of the hero twins, which are spoken of in the ancient Popol Vuh. Of the Maya as Hunapu and Ixbalanque, they are represented among the Diné, Navajo of Nuevo Mexico, Arizona, and Utah as, and I hope I don't missay it, but Naye, Neizgani, and Tobaishchini. Further on, the same creation story has been found in the ancient city of Cahokia in the present-day state of Illinois. Directly across the great Mississippi River, a culture that left a massive pre-Columbian abandoned city of huge temple mounds held the belief in the hero twins, as well based on archaeological evidence. Cultural links show up throughout Aslan and Mesoamerica in various other ways as well. The veneration of Tlaloc, which I named my baby because of this, the deity of precipitation and giver of life of the Mexica and other Nahuatlaca, is directly linked to the Hopi and Pueblo Kachina cult. The Kachina are spiritual beings in Hopi culture. It is believed that they bring the rains and thus life. One such being, also represented as a Kachina, is Masao, guardian spirit of the fourth world who assumes Tlaloc's role within the Hopi people. This is not even to mention the appearance of Tlaloc in ancient Mimbres and Jornada Mogollon ceramics and rock art dated AD 1000. Both Mimbres and Jornada Mogollon are mother cultures of the Southwest, what we call Aslan. Speaking of Hopi peoples, they are composed of several clans that at one point came together and after time developed into who today we know as Hopi. One of these clans are of Mesoamerican origin. In fact, one of them is even named the Yargunga, which means parrot. Parrots are not native to the Southwest. Parrots, in particular scarlet macaws, were imported into the region, bred and raised there. For example, evidence of macaw aviaries have been found at Chaco Canyon in Nuevo Mexico. The Chaco culture is an ancient Puebloan culture which precedes the Hopi Pueblo peoples of today. Chaco Canyon is believed to have been functioning around AD 900 to 1150. Notable discoveries among the ancient ruins include vessels made for drinking cacao and cacao residue itself. Cacao is also not native to the so-called southwestern desert regions. It is a small tropical tree originally from Mexico and Central America, brought in through trade networks that expanded for thousands of miles, in which several other products such as copper, turquoise, and specific types of shells were traded from north to south and vice versa. So I just basically, I want to lay a foundation for, where this idea of Aslan came from. It didn't come out of nowhere. And the reason it still exists is because there's a basis to it. And so just to, cut a little short, I don't want to keep going over and over. And so we began noting not only that we had our own historical timeline, which may have led to many what ifs, but that our timeline, our very own historical path and process as Chicanos, was not only intercepted once, but twice. First came the Spanish crown, and then later the United States. Both came to colonize, and colonize they did. They reshaped our entire existence to fit their own needs. Here we can think of Bissau-Guinean and Cape Verdean agriculture engineer, revolutionary, anti-colonial nationalist poet and leader Amilcar Cabral, who clarified in speaking of colonization in general that the principal characteristic common to every kind of imperialist domination is the negation of the historical process of the dominated people by means of violently usurping the free operation of the process of development of the productive forces. That's a mouthful, I know, but the ancient myth of migration from Aztlan, by then Azteca, who became Mexica, begins taking on a more factual basis. But we should again ask ourselves why, out of so many ancient myths that not only the Mexica held, but that so many other indigenous cultures had and continue to have, should the story of Aztlan continue to be propagated as many thousands of years later? So I don't want to go over my time. There's a lot. But I basically talk here about how we have to shift the way we look at ourselves. We're not Mexican Americans. Because when we call ourselves that, we're fitting ourselves into someone else's narrative. We are Chicanos. We are Chicanas. And that comes from our own experience. And through that paradigm, we're able to interpret our own history and our own future. And what I go into later on, I talk about how, because I did a presentation on this one time, and someone in the crowd, when I did this panel, they were like, well, why do you include more like Chicanos saying these things, about Aztlan or about the Southwest and all that? And I was like, because we say that all the time, but I want people to see that our enemies say the same thing. So I took quotes here from people, Netanyahu, who even says that if Palestine was to be liberated, that would be a problem because Hispanics in the United States will want another Mexico. He said that. There's another guy who wrote a paper called the Hispanic Challenge. He inspired like a lot of the pre-Trump people and all that. This whole paper goes on about how Mexicans and Mexican Americans are the only group in the United States that has a legitimate claim to a portion of the land, and they're proud of it. They, throughout generations, they pass that feeling on, that resentment, that anger, or that just pride in being in our homeland. But that's a problem. That's a problem that the United States has to deal with some way or another. So these are things that our enemies have said about ourselves. But to us, that's a positive, But that should help us understand our future and what potential we have as a people. We're not this. They make us seem in this society, like, compañero was saying, your language is wrong. You don't speak the right language. You don't look the right way. We're not going to put you in the movies and the shows and all that. Even though we're the majority and we're the growing majority, and we do everything. You know, this whole country would not run if it wasn't for the raza, because we're in the fields, we're in the factories, we're in the pintas, we're in the schools, we're everywhere. But in the service sector, is mostly mujeres de la raza, nannies. You know, where I work with the jornaleros. That's where I was taken from, by ICE. All raza, you know. So we do everything. Brown hands like ours built this country, but we're denied that recognition. So I wanted to write something, you know, about how if we reshape the way we look at ourselves, not as immigrants, and not that being an immigrant is wrong, but we are not immigrants. We're on our land. If we reshape that paradigm, then we have a clear understanding of who we are, and we can see our future for what it can be, ¿verdad? Pero that's all, ¿verdad? Thank you for having me. I'm very impressed with everything people are sharing, ¿verdad? It's making me even more proud to be Chicano, you know, pero gracias. Es todo.
Thank you, Ernesto. You speak better than you walk. Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you for sharing those words. Is Osmani out there? You see? I see Osmani. Okay, all right, he made it. So next up is Osmani R. Ochoa. Osmani Ochoa is a queer Mexican Chicano poet, organizer, and writer whose art centers on migrant futurism, world building, and acts of resistance. And he's also a fellow editor over at Maiz Poppin' Press. Let's welcome Osmani.
Oh, we have a collective copy. Okay, so this is kind of embarrassing, but I was on the train today and I forgot that I had another poem in here towards the end because I thought mine were only at the beginning and that was it. But I have another one and I've forgotten about her, and her name is Drag Queen 3004. And I'm going to start with that one. Holographic eyeshadow, Milky Way eyelids, her nano silk huipil of moon texture was to die for. Thermochromatic lips glow, sunbeams, eyes are mini projectors of gamma rays, cosmic rainbow bullseye. Lunateca makes vulgar jokes, performs big al ritmo de quantum cumbia, liquid metal braids, locked in yellow cempasúchil, serpent crown, rayed blade stilettos press against the glowing metal throttle, igniting, teletransporting, her spaceship powered by ancient bone dust of Musk, Abbott, Trump, and J.K. Rowling takes off. And then I have from other things. This one is, these next two poems are from a collection called Once We Were Cosmic Rebels. And it's Maiz Poppin' Press, forthcoming in a few light years. I'm just kidding. It'll come soon. Maybe next year, maybe. Anyways, these two poems are from that collection. And this collection is kind of like a prologue to another collection that I have that starts off with Coyotl, who's an intergalactic revolutionary humanoid smuggler. And he ushers my parents and I to planet Earth from planet Genesis after that planet burned to the ground for very specific reasons. You have to read it to know why. Anyways, I thought, that what if I write a series of poems that gives Coyotl's backstory, his queer backstory, and that is what has become Once We Were Cosmic Rebels. And this poem is called Cadillac 2192. It was the day before the strike, the eve of another rebellion, Coyotl was ready to go on offense, to flip the incubators over, and no longer be the one always negotiating the terms of loss and defeat. It'll be the CEO fascist mutt, this time scrambling to respond to a crisis, forced to defend their greedy existence. Under a restless sky, in a flying red Cadillac 2192, Coyotl was locked and loaded. Explosives primed, digital weapons armed, his target clear to shut down the systems of the Emporia Republic, but more importantly, to feed the butterflies flapping against his stomach out of the excitement of reuniting with the love of his life. He breached the satellite JO colony, blasting past firewalls and steel gates to pull Antonio out of captivity. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. With the blackout, he triggered Coyotl, suspended the Cadillac over the prison camp. Slicing through security drones, locking above the holding cell, Antonio rose in a blaze of white light, levitated towards the spray-painted Virgen de Guadalupe above the hood of the getaway Cadillac. Coyotl caught him midair, like Popocatépetl holding Iztaccíhuatl on a Mexican carniceria calendar painting before they became two volcanoes. Ha, 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 he laughed hysterically like the Joker, but in Spanglish. I thought this empire was unbeatable. Pueden besar mi culo peludo, cabrones. At last, after 7 years apart, their hungry lips fed each other with a humid kiss. The job wasn't over. Next target, Amazon X, then Elbit Systems, then finally Atlacor Consortium, the corporate vampires depleting their bones dry. Coyotl's hacking abilities ruined their networks, siphoned their profits, left their accounts fuming with zeros and LOL emojis. Antonio and Coyotl gashed into the night, digital fugitives. Their Cadillac engine roared above the moon beneath a storm of fading comets. Cuando el apagón terminó, the corporations fired back, deployed the planetary border guards, Emporia's drones locked on the Cadillac, AI warheads armed to fire. Antonio and Coyotl clenched hands, un último beso, before the plunge, their flying car ripped into the ocean, bodies entwined, swallowed whole by the Yucatec shore. This is called Resident Alien. They called me Resident Alien of planet Genesis, unregistered humanoid earthling. Emperor Pete Wilson wanted to expel my mom and I to the moon, or any planet other than this one. My mom worried that the army of the planetary guards could take me away from school if a teacher reported me to the chancellor on the suspicion that I was an alien as codified in Law 187. At 12 years old, I had no clue of any dangers of the galactic wars of borders and xenophobia, or the gibberish of demagogues. My dad petitioned for my mom and I, which granted us an appointment at a space station, where USCIS on July 31st, 1996, granted me a green card that was actually pink, with a side-facing picture that resembled a fugitive alien mugshot of me, a child, earthling, with wavy black curls, and at the top of the card, in bold capitalized letters, the Emporia Republic government declared me, in no uncertain terms, resident alien. This one's called, oh, thank you. Okay, this one is experimental and I have a minute left. So I'll do this one. And it's kind of like a glitchy poem, maybe? I don't know. This is an experiment. It's called Alien, Illegal, Alien, Illegal, Alien, Illegal. Alien, illegal, alien, illegal, alien, alien, illegal, alien, illegal, alien, illegal, alien, illegal, alien, illegal, alien, illegal, alien, illegal. They're bringing drugs. Alien, illegal, alien, illegal, illegal, alien, alien. They're bringing crime. Alien, 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 illegal, alien, illegal, alien. The rapists. illegal alien, 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 alien, illegal alien, alien, illegal, don't come, illegal alien, illegal alien, illegal alien, they're eating the dogs, cats, pets, alien, illegal, alien, illegal, beaner, greaser, hoto, puto, faggot, wet, back. Thank you.
As all my friends know, I'm dead inside, except when I read Osmani's work there. That's great, man. I really loved it. So that's all our contributors for tonight. I think I don't want to overstay our welcome, but I would like to also to have some questions because I think we can have a great discussion. Brenda, do you know how long we got?
How much time we got?
Yeah.
I think so, 9.
All right, excellent. So first, I mean, I want to thank everyone for being here, of course, but like, let's, I don't like, so really just tear up everything and make a circle. No, I'm joking. So, anybody have any questions for any of the contributors? I can start. I'm full of questions. I mean, honestly, I'm always got a question up. Anybody have a burning question? I actually, and you want to know what? I can't see anything. The light's right in my eyes. So maybe I'll get it kicked off. So what? This is to everybody, right? Like, so what really brought you to Xicanx Futurism to the form, to using those elements? Oh, go ahead, Henry. Yeah.
A few words. This story emanated from the Palabras del Pueblo workshop. Matter of fact,
All right.
Scott was in the class.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that? That's how it first started, and then I, embellished it and then made it, something larger. But in that class, I've taken the last 3 years or so, like maybe 6 or 7 of them, each time. And where else in the world can you have a workshop on Chicano science fiction, futurism, and spirituality, and just all kinds of cool topics, how to do poetry, and it's a small class, it's on Zoom, and there I've written things that really surprised myself, because you got the pressure of quickly writing something, and then you get some good workshopping, and so that's how my piece came to be. That's going to be in the Codex too. So I would invite everyone else to join the class coming up in June, right?
In June, palabrasdelpueblo.com, and you can take all the other time and other answers to plug Palabras more. Yeah, that's right. But I want to mention, like when I first read the story and saw Roberto, I started laughing really hard. Anybody else? You got? You want to talk about how like Chicano futurism affects your work? What brought you to it? Other than me bugging you? I'll call on you. This is like, that class. I'll call on you. I've done it before. I'll do it again. What about you, Ernesto?
Well, I always found it interesting to think about what our future's going to be like. Like I said, when you told me about this, I was like, well, I think to know about our future, everyone says it, right? You kind of know your past and know your future. But I think, again, like the way we've been told to think about ourselves as Mexican Americans or Native Americans or some hyphenated American, it molds us and makes us see things not through our lens, but it's colored like us. So that's why I wrote it. Started like it was during the pandemic. I had like so much time, and I was watching like videos about on YouTube, like this different archaeological societies and stuff. And they were doing presentations like on the Mesoamerican influence on the Southwest and all that, and Utonawa language and all that, and I bought some books from that. And so I just found it like, well, there's a whole other way we could look at ourselves, not Mexican Americans or Latin Americans or Native, none of that. You know, we are this group of indigenous people that we chose to call ourselves Chicanos. You know, after everything that we've been through, you know, and just like all the other groups of indigenous people that we know of today, we have come about through, you know, several things that affected us. You know, we've come from diverse backgrounds. You know, like there's Chicanos. I mean, I would argue that some of the first Mexicans, or the first Mexicans in the United States, were people from tribes from here who were Mexican. You know, then you had migrants from Mexico come and they just became a bigger Mexican community. But, you know, we came from different backgrounds and we became one whole group of people. And when we understood that the most is the period of time that we recognize as the Chicano power period. That's when we understood that the most. You know, then after that, the system did its best at, like, destroying that whole identity and throwing all these other words at us to confuse us, basically, you know. Every 10 years, every new generation gets a new word, except for the one that we chose for ourselves, you know. So I think by understanding that, then again, like I said, you know, we understand the future. You know, and then we start seeing all these things that are happening, you know, like why are we so, I mean, we're, like LA is obviously raza. And not putting aside any other group, right? But it's heavily raza. It's called Los Angeles and Yanga and all, you know, it's the first people are people like us. You know, but you don't see that reflected anywhere. You know, I mean, you see movies about LA and they hardly have any raza in them. It's like, what? That's not LA. You know, and so, but then you see that there's like they do that for a reason, you know, because that keeps this mass of people that are indigenous, that are native, that are working class, whose hands operate the machinery of the system, like physically. If they come to understand themselves as one solid group of people, it's over. So you got to keep those people working for you, but you kind of keep them as ignorant and at each other's throat as much as possible. And that's what they do to us. I think times like right now where that is making a lot of us reflect on that. It's bringing more unity to us. But I think, you know, they do that on purpose. And again, they say it. If you read some of the stuff that I included in here, I went on the CIA's website, and I looked up, you could search Xicano, and La Raza, and Aslan, and all that. And they have literal, like, journals that they published in the 80s saying that Mexicans in the United States should not be politicized. They literally would say that in these journals that that only like intelligence officers were able to subscribe to and read throughout the world or whatever. They say that, man, you know. They interviewed the head of the CIA in 1979. It was, you know, of all places, a Playboy article. But they interviewed this guy, William Colby, and they asked him, what is the single greatest threat to the United States? He didn't say Iran, he didn't say Iraq or the Soviet Union or China or Nicaragua or, you know, what was going on in those days. He said Mexicans. He straight up, the head of the CIA said Mexicans are the biggest threat to the United States. And you could have as many bullets and you could not stop them at the border. Wow. He says that. But then, like you live in this society and you make us seem like we're unimportant. When obviously we are very important to the stability of this empire that is shitting all over the world and destroying it. And even now it's headed by straight up pedophiles. Anyways, you know. But two, you know, I think that if we see the history through that, we can see our future. You know?
Absolutely.
And we can see this world where we have a right to dream. We have a right to create. We have a right to laugh and cry and love and hate like any other human being, but we're denied that. You know, and it is infuriating because, you know, you see it all the time, and you see like our people, like my family, you know, or my kids, why are they not reflected in these things? Why can't I, you know, I mean, it's a little different now than when I was a kid, right? But still, it's like, you know, why can't I see my family on TV or whatever, you know? Why are they not reflected there? Or the way we eat, the way we talk, you know, and all that. What's wrong with saying, talking in our accent and all that? There's nothing wrong with it, you know? But they make it seem like it's like, oh man, you speak like, why do you speak like that? It's not Spanish or that's not English. What the hell are you speaking? You know, I'm speaking like a Chicano. That's how I speak. I'm using words that we use. I'm mixing them up, and they're even linguistics considers Galo and the way Chicanos speak as its own language. I mean, just the way that they say ebonics about African American people. También the way that we speak, is its own language, but you don't hear that. They don't talk about that in the open, Sometimes not even Chicano studies talks about these things, unfortunately, but yeah, so we deserve that, and being here, I see that, like we are talking to ourselves about ourselves, which is a human right, so yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like Chicano Futurism to me. Yeah, I'm gonna clap for that. Oh, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so kind of to like what Ernesto said, kind of lose context of what I want to ask, but with the anthology that you guys did, we saw that it's very rare to see Xicanx Sci-Fi manifest the Xicanx Futurism as a literary genre. And that's something you really don't see. For example, we have another LA writer like Lechuga Butler, who's known for her own science fiction, her political style. There is a tradition of Afrofuturism, for example. So I'm curious as to what you were reading, either growing up or what led you into this idea to just like dive into the genre.
Well,
and really like explore the future imagination.
Well, I mean, a lot of things as far as it's like what Ernesto's saying about growing up, right? Because I remember, I'm old, you haven't guessed, but in the 70s, I remember Luke Skywalker, right? Blonde dude, right? And also I remember all the, my family moved around a bit, but I'm from this area, right? And I mostly grew up in San Diego in North Texas. I would see these shows about LA or whatever, and it's always, or Vasquez Rocks, that's where our Chicano, he was a rebel. He fought against Americans, all Californios had Tiburcio Vasquez there. But they enact this ritual. Like I see a lot of Anglo sci-fi in particular, rituals to reenact the tale of the empire, of the genocide, of the dominance, because what's the question on their mind? Am I up to the job of keeping this empire going? And so you have us in the rubber suits going, right? And you have them saying, like, they beat us down, and even the good stories, they lift us back up and saying, now, you work for me, So what does that sound like? More like slavery again, right? Or like working for them against, as we bomb across the world. But so there's all that inheritance and all this of having displaced myself so much when I read something, even as a half gringo, that is not meant for me, where we're the other, where we're the alien. So it came to the point where I'm also one of the editors of the first Chicano Sci-Fi anthology, right? And that opened my eyes how anti-Chicano the sci-fi world is. And across almost all these groups, they're very like why are you doing a Chicano Sci-Fi anthology with why don't you let everybody in? I mean, because we deserve our own space, and I'm not trying to be. I never, once you invite me to a Cuban American, a Puerto Rican American anthology as a Chicano, then I'll consider it, right? But to me, it's a very right identity in the first place. So I was kind of mystified that so much was against us. So that was that's El Porvenir. But we were thinking, what do we do next? And me in particular, I was thinking, we have to, so there's all this going on. As you saw, Project Masa, that's 20 years. There's all sorts of thinkers like Ernesto, like Apache Maiz, like Ernesto Morales, there's all these people who are talking about the future, about what needs to happen. As a movimiento, it never ended. We're still been going, right? And also there's people who have been writing, who started Chicano Sci-Fi, and they don't get any recognition, right? Or we get put in other spaces and other identities, Hispanic, whatever you want to call it, but we don't have our own space. And so how can we ever have our own direction as a future? And that's what my thinking was. How do we bring these ideas together so we can see what our future might be? Because we don't know where the hell we're going because we don't talk to each other. And that's why I say in the introduction, why don't we, this is meant as a discussion, because I've had discussions with everybody in this book, and to me, all these stories and artwork and essays and everything has been a discussion. What does it mean to be Xicano? And Ernest Hogan, the father of Xicano Sci-Fi, say Xicano is a sci-fi state of being. Whenever we take pen and paper, we put it on there, and we dispel all these things that the dominant settler colonial society says about us, right? I mean, we all of us as writers, as Chicanos, whomever, right? We have to understand who we are. And I understand that as someone who's mixed, right? And who's also native Californian, like, and also, I grew up with people telling me to go back to Mexico, or they were telling me I was a dirty Indian. Like, I grew up in a rural area. There are really a lot of hillbillies in Bolden. Or they told me I was too white to be a Mecha, right? So I had to go through and decide, what does it mean to be Chicano? Who's it mean? And I thought about it. It was something you come across a lot of social justice. It means to love your people. It means to love Chicano people. I think about my grandparents. I think about my cousin. I think about everybody, right? Like, we are worth something. We're people. And to me, this is us reclaiming our humanity. And it's us going to places like Basket Rocks and saying, we taking this. We are not meant to be like subjugated side characters in your genocide fantasy. We're human beings and we deserve better. And so that's sometimes I'm a little more low key about that. But you asked me, brother, and I got me broke. Any other questions? I'm not sure how long we got. Also, he's a bad influence.
Wait, so the book has a lot of visual artwork, but though he's on the flyer, but the Indio copyright?
Yeah, first you won't be able to
Okay.
make it tonight.
Well, I mean, that would kind of, if you could tell us a little bit about.
I tell you about this cover, like, for one, because I knew Alex. I interviewed him because I noticed, like, that's not even, I don't know what that name is. It's El Indio, copyright 1985. Don't pay attention to Matt Honeycurd. So I knew him from some artwork he was doing, and I contacted him, and he's like, it's a small brown world. We'll all kind of know each other. And so I interviewed him when I was with another organization, and I was like very impressed with his work. He had this work that showed like the Hollywood signs and kind of posterized, but with like places of Rasa, right? Like Boyle Heights. And that really hit me because like where we're supposed to be from is not supposed to be worth anything. We're supposed to be, this is the scary part, or this is the poor part, and so, but instead he takes it and, so I contacted him, and he also did a series, Star Wars, it's Star Wars, right? With Pancho Villa and like the Princess Leia, and then the Soldaderas with the buns like that. Because they took that style from us. They took a lot from Star Wars from us, right? And that's another cowboy in space genocide. So I talked to him, and so he had some more. He had some great stuff. The really pieces I love, like Joaquin Norieta on the missile saying "Good La Raza," right? How I grew to love the bomb kind of thing, right? He sent me a bunch of stuff like that. I found his work very inspiring, and then. He told me, and this is a lesson I took, right? He was thinking, I sent you all these pictures of our heroes in space, and he goes, that's not what it's about, man. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I love that Joaquin pose. I'm thinking about that, putting that on the cover, blah, 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 right? And he said, it's about a rasa continuing in space. I'm like, okay, show me what you think, right? So he sent me this right here, and all it is a rasa lining up on the rings of Saturn, getting tacos at a taco truck, right? Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's funny, but I mean, it's also, it's profound. We exist in this imaginative space because we don't exist normally, right? Like all these movies, they show the planet's devoid. The future, we're the future. We're going to be the plurality of this area, right? And we already are in LA. And so we're going to be the biggest group, except we're so invisible from other spaces. And so to me, this is so profound because this is tacos, that's us lining up to get tacos, like very simple thing, could be anywhere, right? And here we go on the rings of Saturn. So that means we're visible. And, I always don't, visibility does matter, but it matters, like, to me, it's not so much about representation, it's about who gets to tell the tale, right? And it's us saying, hey, we're here, we're gonna be here, and it's us get to tell. We're telling the story, and this is who we are. So that's why this had to be the cover for me when he showed that to me. And I think, so to me, I mean, Luis Valdelas, he's been doing that Project Masa for years. It's connecting. I mean, you want to dance when you hear that music and the visuals and everything. And he also has, I'll tell you this really quick. I think we're almost out of time, but it might be Codex. It's Codex 2. So this was going to be one book, so it's hard to remember what's what, right? But he did a mural of his father as a mariachi with all these like designs behind it, kind of time traveling, in downtown San Antonio, right? And it's a large mural, and he took photos of it, and he sent me like, hey, I want this to be in the Codex 2. I'm like, yeah, that's cool, man, I really love it. And meanwhile, they destroyed one of the buildings, so now, when, if you go to the Alamo, you guys know what the Alamo is, how horrible it is. It's, I'm also related to the bastards that were there. But they have these statues all looking up. You're supposed to be inspired by these slavers and rapists and genociders, right? But now, since they tore that building, you go there, they're looking up at this mariachi. That time-traveling mariachi. So that's in the book, showing you where it is, how it's seen. It's detailed like that, but unfortunately, it's Codex 2. Or fortunately, So yeah, I mean, yeah, the art is to me definitely a part of it. It's definitely like I talk to these guys all the time. They call me strange times of the day. Anybody else want to ask a question? Anybody?
I just wanted to mention about where we're not. I wrote a play a couple of years ago, and it has to do with mariachi vampires. And it's really cool.
Let's bring it back.
Yeah. I'm going to turn it into a story, I guess. And then I wrote one that Luneros 2070, 20 years from now, the Mexicanos go to the moon to go mine work, but they don't have papers to get to the moon, so they have these cyber coyotes they got to pay a big fine, to get across and sneak across the universe to the moon to do moon mining. And then there's this guy organizes the bots. He creates a union over there, and it's really cool.
There's so many. This is funny because like the other editor, we were always talking about like she likes vampire stuff, and I was talking. We were always arguing about vampires versus robots. But yeah, I think we're at time, right? Yeah. Okay, we got the hook. The hook's coming. I want to thank all you guys for being here. It's really great to hear this work. It's really amazing, and I'm always inspired by all of it. Right, like everything in here, I find inspiring. It's been a great journey to be here. I know it got very rocky when we had to leave the other space. So I want to thank you guys again for dealing with all that. But yeah, I mean, I love this work, and I love you guys, and I want to thank you for sticking with me.
Last thing tomorrow at 4 at Anaheim?
That's right. We're Mickey Mouse in Mickey Mouse's house. No, at 6 in Anaheim at
The Untold Story.
The Untold Story will be there.
6, okay.
Yeah, and Alex, El Indio, copyright 1985, promised me he will be there since he wasn't able to make it here. So I want to thank you guys again. Support Beyond Baroque. This is my first time here. Is this really great space and really great bookstore. Buy all their books. Stop stealing. No. But yeah, thanks everyone. Yeah, and let's stay in touch.
So there